Stay Safe here got into a call with the fifth horseman, as they call him. So this is what the interview was all about.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, Tiny, listen, okay. I've prepared a little intro. I'm going to read it, and then we're going to go, okay?
Oh, okay. Yep. Intro?
7/11, the day the Earth stood still.
Okay.
The day that 36 very brave hardcore champions were killed in what can only be called an act
of
hardcore terrorism.
Oh my
Chat,
God.
today we have the opportunity to sit down with one of Classic WoW's biggest villains.
Okay.
The man that recently wiped an entire 40-man hardcore raid roster.
Yep.
Tiny Violin. First off, Mr. Tiny Violin, thank you for making the time for this interview. We've been trying to set this up for a couple days. I know you've got a very busy work schedule. How was your day at work today?
Okay.
It was good. Before we start, though, I'd like to give you a brief introduction for those people out there who don't know me.
Please,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
So in Classic, I was wronged out of Scarab Lord and ATS. I then created 16 accounts for opposite faction PvP.
Dude, we're off to a great start, aren't we? Holy crap.
Dispelling buffs is an intended Blizzard mechanic. In Psalm, I then played with a Blizzard employee named Wolfjob, so he confirmed I was a driving factor in Chrono Boon. So
Okay.
anyone who likes Chrono Boon has me to thank for it. After Classic, I kept playing Vanilla since it's my favorite expansion, private servers, Seasons of Mastery, and eventually I found Hardcore. I got to 60 in Hardcore, and I played with HG Elite for about a year. I made friends with a lot of people in the guild, and I was one of the reasons they got so far. Without me, Locks weren't putting up curses, there was no Fairy Fire, there was no IEA, some warriors weren't even sundering. After every raid, I did a log review and I helped warriors and mages with their rotation. I mean, the mages didn't even know how Ignite mechanics even worked. And after raids, I played Scriblio with them. I made a lot of friends in the
And then he played Scriblio with them and then wiped the entire raid. Like the week before they were going to kill Kel'Thuzad on Hardcore.
guild.
Okay.
But eventually I began to see some corruption within the guild.
Corruption?
So the rules at the start were much more strict. You couldn't use non-hardcore tunes for help. For example, you can't use a non-hardcore priest for mind control for sun buff. Some of my friends got booted early on.
Oh, he's talking about War Chief's Blessing. They're aligned, so he's talking about the sun buff is the War Chief's Blessing that you can get by mind controlling an alliance player and then turning them horde, and then they get the buff. It's a meme. They call it the sun buff because the Sun Chief's Blessing, right? It's the War Chief's Blessing.
For this exact reason.
Okay.
But once AQ Next came into the question, more and more people showed up with Ren buff, but they actually refused to explain how they got it.
Okay.
So I actually learned a lot of them had actually died and they just altered their add-ons to keep playing. The rules were different for different people. So
I did hear something about this, that people had found ways to manipulate the add-on in ways where they could die but then still res, right? In a way, there's probably a lot of instances like that. I think hardcore to a big degree is at least for the current state is like a solo kind of thing. So you're kind of just cheating yourself, but in a way you're also cheating the other people if you're doing it in a raid environment, right? But yeah,
I brought up the Bren buff issue in Discord.
I hope you understand that this was all planned by the streamers and the guild. Well, we don't know that. I mean. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. The only people that really knows that is probably this tiny violin guy and then maybe some other people as well, right? But we'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens in the interview.
Was a hardcore server soon. On top of this, the loot was becoming very corrupt. There's leaked audio of Loot Council just stating, I want these items and taking it. The same
Of course it has something to do with loot. Yep. Listen, classic WoW drama. Every single instance like this all stems down to loot. It always does.
Hey.
Rat Trash Master, thank you for the 10
players who
months.
didn't even understand Ignite mechanics were in charge of this Loot Council. So tension in H Elite was getting high. People were unhappy. I would call out bad players in Discord, and people would praise me. Others would hate me. It became polarizing.
Okay.
Eventually, I realized the true spirit of vanilla hardcore was lost, and we weren't doing an official hardcore run. None of this would have been possible on an actual hardcore server, since majority of the guild had actually
I see
cheated.
where he's going with this.
I started warning my friends that Judgment Day was near, and I was looking to put a stop to what I thought was fake hardcore.
What? I started warning my friends that the end was near.
I actually messaged all my friends and told them beforehand there would be an incident in tonight's Nex. And I actually do have proof of people that were warned. Maybe they didn't believe me, but I can show you off stream some screenshots.
Okay.
After the wipe, a lot of people were relieved. I got some thank you and I got some death threats. But the corruption didn't stop there. After a lot of the HC characters died, they started entering BGs. They actually died again since the game was over for them.
Oh, yeah, I have seen that. I think I think they decided. I don't really know the details of it because I'm not in the guild, and frankly, I'm just doing my own thing. I mean, hardcore servers is so around the corner, anywho. But I think that they decided to make it up to the They decided to make it up to each individual person if they wanted to appeal or not, since it was a grief within the raid. And then some people just took their characters and did some PvP and stuff like that instead of deleting them, right? Basically. It's all a very strange situation because hardcore servers is very much around the corner. So I think a lot of people just don't really care as much. They just want to kind of do whatever they want nowadays, right? And just wait for official hardcore to come out.
Then Dell had a change of heart and decided to go back into KT. So these people actually told him that they went into BGs and died, but he just brushed it off and just said he wanted to go back into Nax. This was my problem with the situation. It was truly never hardcore. It was a fake accomplishment the entire time.
Okay. So the whole reason for him doing it is just that it's not real hardcore. He thinks people are cheating, and he thinks people are like not being ethical within the raid, and like the loot is not. He doesn't like some people within the raid, so he just, you know, wanted to stop the whole thing, I suppose. That's what he's kind of saying, right?
Hello.
Urikusos, thank you for the Prime 13 months.
Okay, let's unpackage all of that. We're going to do that over the course of this interview.
Yeah.
Thank you for...
Yeah, he is a known griefer from before. This guy is like a very, very big known griefer, you know, so, yeah.
Showing up once again. Over the last 2 or 3 days, I've seen people dismiss your behavior as you're a depressed, hate-filled, basement-dwelling psychopath.
Okay.
Would you say any of that is true as a starter question?
Oh, not at all. I'm like the happiest person ever.
Okay.
I love playing vanilla WoW, and I have a blast doing it.
Okay.
Okay. I've also seen people calling you the Osama bin Laden of hardcore community, and that you're a hardcore terrorist. What's your response to that?
Okay.
I don't think so. Like, I was really helpful with the community. Like I mentioned earlier,
dude, he had to treat them well up until the incident, man. He had to like gain all their trust, and whenever everything seemed nice and dandy, KT is just like a few days away. We're almost gonna kill him. We're gonna be world first next Ramaz. Then he goes in for it on the only boss that's really, really griefable, man. Like, the thing about it is, like, the Four Horsemen is the only one you can really grief like that. Cthulhu you could as well. You could get a really good Cthulhu beam in. Maybe you can taunt the boss and Shadow Flame the raid. But the Four Horsemen is the only boss where you're locked in. Like, the doors close behind you. You pull all the bosses, and you can't Petri out. Thaddeus and Polarity Shift, you can Petri afterwards. You cannot Petri. Like, Thaddeus, yeah, if you run into like a bunch of people with Thaddeus, you're gonna kill half the raid. Right? You're gonna kill half the raid, or maybe not even half the raid, maybe just a few people, but you can just have the other half of the raid like petrification afterwards. Right? On Four Horsemen, you're locked in, and the mark that the Four Horsemen put on you goes through Petri. That's why, right?
I would help them with like log reviews. I was really helpful with the community. I don't know why they would call me a terrorist.
Okay. So this was not an accident.
Okay.
You were memeing a little bit. You were joking around when you made the comments about being in the wrong corner. This was intentional, yeah?
So, like, even though this is clearly not a grief, but the problem is everyone would try to mass report me.
I mean, kind of just, I mean, just say yes, man.
So,
like,
in my best
just at this point, just, you know,
interest, I had to pretend it was the wrong corner. But Judgment Day was coming, and I talked to a few people I trusted the most, and I had to play it off as a raid accident. But at the end of the day, this was Judgment Day.
Bro, that...
Okay, so just to be clear, considering it was Judgment Day, this was not an accident. Judgment Day was premeditated.
Well, it's not griefing. It was just simply, like I said, Judgment Day.
All right, yeah, griefing. That word has got a lot of nuance to it. I'm not sure how to define it. I'm sure the word griefing is terminologically in the eye of the beholder. But prior to
yeah, there's probably some people that like view nothing as griefing, like because you're just playing the game, right? You're playing the game, so that's the rules of the game, right? I don't care if I'm sitting like 15 hours per day and camming people in STV, because that's how Blizzard made the game. There's PvP. It's yeah.
This raid, you knew that you were going to do this.
I like to give you an analogy.
Yeah.
So, like, like killing a killer. Is it really a bad thing if you kill another killer?
What?
Man, that's a deep.
But what about all the people that?
Yeah, now we're talking the ethics of death sentence. You said that other people knew in this raid that Judgment Day was going to happen. Is that true?
They're all killers. Oh, shoot. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like I said, I can show you screenshots off stream. I warned my friends in the raid that
I know Bean got warned. A minute before they pulled, Bean got a message to log off. So Bean was one of the person who got warned before it happened.
I don't know if they believed me or not, but
yeah,
they were warned beforehand.
Okay, and so the people that were warned, were these people that you were friends with or that had been kind to you, or did you? How did these people figure out that this was going to happen?
Okay.
They were just like they were good players. We had a kind of a similar mindset. We wanted to min-max our characters. We wanted to do well. They were just like cool people that I like genuinely enjoyed hanging around.
Okay.
Okay. And you're not comfortable saying any of these names publicly right now, but you'll show me afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. Do you think any of these people you told were sort of on your side and that they were happy that Judgment Day was going to happen? Or were they like, hey, bro, I hope that Judgment Day does not happen? What was their take?
Honestly, I think they were relieved. Like, there was a lot of issues with the guild, with the cheating. People weren't happy about that. The favoritism, how, some people got special treatment. Like, how can...
It's always like that in guilds, though, man. Like, it is what it is, man. Especially when it's like a community-run thing. Like, it's not an official thing, so you really can't, like, regulate and, like, make sure everything is going as planned. All you can really do is hope that people really go with it the proper way, and then try to foster a good community that enjoys the game mode, right? That's really it, because it's not an official thing. It's like a add-on, and it's like a community thing that they've built up, right? So yeah.
How can this person...
Nepotism plays every raiding guild. It's a big problem in many raiding guilds, yeah, for sure.
Do this, but it's not okay for the rest of the community. The loot was super corrupt.
The loot, yeah, okay.
Basically, like, it was... I guess it might have been mixed feelings for them. Like, at the end of the day, like, they understood why it was done. Like, I believe that they understood it needed to be done.
Dude,
like, I'll give you an example. A hunter got Badge of the Swarm Guard. He got the choker from AQ40 and Badge of the Swarm Guard. Like, the loot was like completely fucked. Like, I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, so you would say...
So he's not happy with the loot distribution, and he's not happy that some people allegedly are like not playing by the rules.
The reason why Judgment Day was necessary is because of corruption within the hardcore community and
riled
also
up about loot, for sure.
Selective enforcement of the hardcore rules. Is that pretty much why Judgment Day was necessary in your mind?
Absolutely. It was ruining the spirit of vanilla. It's not real hardcore.
Okay.
Okay. Switching topic here for a minute. Okay, I'll let you go ahead if you have something else to say.
These players would not survive on a real hardcore server.
When did he first get the idea to do Judgment Day? Was it the full year?
Let me ask you this. I've seen some screenshots floating around of Team Muggsy giving you some information regarding this event happening. To what degree is Team Muggsy involved in this?
So, Team Muggsy was saying a lot of things, like playing flashbang sounds, and he got mad. I think
they will trip up when a mob is in the middle, a mob or whatever. This is the best strat. If you have threat, it will look normal. They will be focused on Thane. So taunt, comfort 5, move for Thane. Okay, so they're just talking about how to do it, basically, right? How to grief it.
If you look at the timestamp, he was messaging me 5 minutes before poll. Like, he just wanted his 15 minutes of fame.
Okay.
Oh, so you're saying Team Uggsy was sort of latching on to Judgment Day after it had already been planned?
Oh, absolutely. Like, someone obviously told him it was about to happen. And so while the raid leader was explaining the fight, he was messaging me on Discord. So,
do you want to know who knew about this? Probably a few people.
Like, the stuff he was saying, like the flashbang and stuff, like, the outcome would have been the same, regardless whether he messaged me or not.
Said he wanted 50 minutes of fame. I wonder who else did. I mean, yeah, obviously. I mean, and they kind of worked, right? I mean, I'm sitting here watching, like, Aspen watching everybody, like, everybody kind of knows about it, right? So that was the whole purpose of it, right? For sure.
Okay, I just want to double back for one moment real fast. I'm stepping away from Team Uggsy. So, you said you've been playing in Hardcore Elite for how long? 6 months or so?
Yeah, over 6 months.
Okay, and so when you
I think
first
9 months,
entered
right?
the Hardcore Elite community, was Judgment Day your intention, or did you just feel like it needed to happen after things you had experienced after already being in the community?
So whether or not he came into it with the intent from the beginning of doing it, or like he was like with raiding with them, and then he eventually decided to do it because he didn't like them or whatever, right?
Oh, no, God, no. Like, when I first joined, like, I'm just a vanilla WoW enjoyer.
Okay.
Like I said, it's my favorite expansion. I love WoW. It's just all these things started to happen, and I just, like I said, I just started to realize, like, it wasn't real hardcore. Like, I made friends, and I still plan on playing with some of these people in you know, the next iteration, whether it's SOM 2 or, you know, official hardcore. But I just started realizing that this wasn't really hardcore. Like, these achievements and accomplishments were meaningless.
Okay, I guess that's
now,
because he's I don't know. Okay, he says some people have cheated or something.
Around
cheated.
You were
like
actually financially incentivized to carry out and execute Judgment Day. People are pointing to you receiving a bunch of, I don't know, maybe like 300 gifted subs or so after Judgment Day.
Giving him money for like doing
it. Executed.
Yeah.
Were you paid off by someone to do this?
No, I did this because they were ruining the spirit of hardcore and vanilla. Like, what they were doing was not right. I even told people not to give me subs because it was never about the money. Like, I've been streaming for years. I'm not a nobody. I'm a small to medium-sized Twitch streamer. And I'll give you an example of someone like Crix. For someone like Crix to say I'm a nobody is false. It's never been about getting popular. I actually used to like Crix, and I watched his streams, but the guy is going around all over social media. I see him on Reddit, on YouTube videos, every Twitch chat that talks about me. I don't know what I did to him. Maybe he voted for Joe Biden or something and I offended him, but he's going around saying I had no followers before. He's saying I was a nobody. In reality, I already had a decent following. I was a small to medium streamer. Usually had around 100 viewers during my HC streams. So it's disrespectful for someone to say, you know, oh, he's a nobody streamer. And, you know, it would actually demotivate a lot of small streamers to hear something like that.
Tiny Violin, who are you supporting in the upcoming 2024 U.S. presidential election?
Oh, well, I mean, I'm not a U.S. citizen. I'm from Canada, so...
Okay.
You're Canadian, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask you this.
Uh-huh.
So you're saying you were not paid any real-life money to carry out the attack. So the idea is anyone that subbed or gifted subs to you as a result of this Judgment Day execution, these are just people that are in favor of this having happened, yeah?
Okay.
Well, so, like, these players are going back into Nax after dying in Battlegrounds. Like, what do you think about that?
Okay, so some people... Okay, I don't know the details of this, really, like what's been happening with all that, but yeah.
Let me put it this way. I am happy we're getting official hardcore servers.
Yeah.
On which there will be no appeals or resurrections.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be... That's why it's like a really weird timing as well with the whole thing. I think the whole reason why it happened, because I guess this guy didn't want them to kill the whole Kill the Sat before, because official hardcore is gonna come out soon, so he wanted to, like, be the guy that, like, stopped it, right? I suppose.
You know, here's actually a great follow-up question. What are your plans for the upcoming official hardcore servers? Do you plan on future Judgment Days on the official hardcore servers?
Future, okay.
No, I actually, like, absolutely not. I plan on leading the Horde. I have an entire
horde,
army that will follow me there. Like right now, I'm currently managing 2 Nax raids on White Mane Era. We started doing Nax with people literally in green gear a month ago.
Okay.
Like we're doing an hour 20-minute Nax, and we started from nothing, and we'll be doing sub 60-minute runs soon. Like we're the best and fastest guild on Era, and like it took other guilds 2 years to get where we are now. Like we're gonna roll Horde, and we're gonna crush it over there.
Bunch of griefers. Yeah, I mean,
what would you say to the thousands, perhaps even millions of people that are tuning in right now
that
are condemning your actions, thinking that you should be banned for what is allegedly griefing in their mind? What would you say to those people?
Well, it's not griefing. Like that's the thing. Like what I did was not griefing. Like I mentioned, it's Judgment Day. Like
okay,
honestly, it had to be done, and anyone that experienced like what was actually going on would understand. Like people,
this guy's a noob. Wait till you see how I wipe Guzu's raid in hardcore. Oh, Fizz, shut up.
From the outside,
I mean,
they just hear one side of the story. They just hear I'm a griefer, and they believe it, but it's just not true. It's not griefing.
I mean,
okay, so it's not griefing.
How would he?
But if it was, they deserved it.
I wonder what griefing is. I want to hear what he thinks griefing is. Then he's probably gonna ask him that. But if because it feels like a little bit like a grief. Like you have an entire raid and then you wipe the raid by pulling a mob, like a boss, over to the. You're kind of griefing the raid, right? Dagobert, thank you for the prime.
Is that what it is?
It's just Judgment Day. Like Alex Sensual was right, and all these guys were cheaters. Like there were a bunch of phonies, and someone had to do it.
How does he always tie into everything? Every single time there's any sort of drama or anything, Alex Sensual always gets tied into it somehow.
Do you think Judgment Day having happened,
he's the jailer,
empowers other because you're not a griefer? Do you think it empowers future griefers?
Definitely.
I mean, there's always going to be griefers out there.
It definitely does, man. If they can, dude. I mean, it's happened before in smaller scale. Like Mitch Jones, like his dungeon run, there was like a griefer that wanted to grief him. It's happened multiple times before, just not on this scale. I almost spilled my tea. Sorry. Just not on this scale of like like a big raid where like there was a buttload of people in Nax.
I mean, there's probably going to be copycats that regardless whether this happened, there's always people out there that are sick in the head and are going to try to ruin people's fun. But in the long run, like guilds have learned their lesson. Like they can't cheat or there will be consequences. So short term, maybe it had some negative impact, but long term, I really do believe it will save the community.
There's definitely a lot of people that play Classic WoW and just games in general to ruin other people's experience. Whether you think that's griefing or not, that's up to yourself to decide, but there is definitely a lot of people that do that. Not just in WoW, just in general.
Okay.
Like running it down in mid with Heimerdinger and League of Legends, or like, camping in like flight paths, or camping like, STV, or whatever you're doing, right? There's plenty of different ways to grief in different games. And a lot of people, they enjoy doing that. They enjoy, making the experience less enjoyable for other people, right?
I think we might have already kind of touched on this a little bit, but coming up on the official hardcore servers, do you think that this sort of dungeon or raid griefing will continue to be a problem?
Okay.
I don't think so. Who, people like to talk about like a long con or whatever, but like, who's gonna invest that much time, play with people this long, like with the intent to grief them? Like, I just don't see it personally. Like, I mean, there's some sick people out there. I don't know, but I think I think it'll be fine on official servers.
And just to be clear, that's not what you did. You did not engage in a long con. This was not your plan from day one. You were just a man that had been pushed too far, and you broke.
It's like I said, it was just it was a fake hardcore. It wasn't real. The achievements were nothing. Like the first guild to kill KT deserves to do it on an official server that is a regulated server. You can't cheat the rules.
So it needs to be on real hardcore. Is what he.
Have you heard? I actually don't know if this is true. Have you heard
Okay.
this idea that this raid that you wiped the other day, sorry, that Judgment Day wiped the other day, they're just going to continue and go and try to kill KT? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I think it's ridiculous. Like these players went into Battlegrounds. The same people that said we're never going to do raid appeals. Now all of a sudden they're doing raid appeals. It just shows they don't care about the spirit of vanilla.
I think the rules for appeals were changed a few months ago, and it was up to the individual guild to decide on how they handle appeals. Since it is like a community thing, and it's like it's a community event, they couldn't there was too many appeals to do it for everybody. So the guilds it was up to each individual guild to handle appeals. Basically, I don't know. To which degree, but that's how it was changed, because it's not an official thing. It's a community-run thing, right? It's a thing that people do within guilds and within small communities. So that's basically it, right? Appeals were always
first
wrong.
of all, you're
yeah, a little bit, but it was to try to circumvent people from people not enjoying the game and wanting to maybe there was a DC death or some sort of a way that you died that wasn't really your fault in the game, but more so just an error of the game itself, right? Maybe you DC'd in an air and then you fell down and died. That's the same reason why Blizzard has introduced not an appeal system, but a way to maybe avoid those deaths within the game, right? So you get teleported to a graveyard instead of dying and falling off of a griffin, right? So yeah.
Appealing a death,
but there will be no appeals unofficial, right?
A raid death.
But I mean, we all kind of knew that it's not official hardcore. It's not real hardcore, but it's a fun community thing, and I think that's what made it fun. It was just the community doing something and trying to play by some rules that was made by the community, right?
That they claim is griefing, and then they step into Battlegrounds and they die 20 times in Battlegrounds. How can these players sleep at night knowing that they've died 20 times in a Battleground?
Okay.
What are your thoughts on the current Petri Flask meta?
I honestly I think it's
interesting.
Kind of so I don't mind Petri Flask, but the thing that I don't like is you can leave the group and get magically teleported to your Hearthstone location. So I understand it's in the game. I'm not a big fan of it, but I mean I understand if it's an intended Blizzard mechanic. I understand that it's totally fine to use it. I have no honestly have no problem with Bubble Hearth or anything. If you can do it in the game, yeah, it's fine for me.
That seems to be his take on most of it. If it's doable in the game, it's okay. Right, that seems to be overall just what he thinks, and that's why as well it's not in his mind griefing what he says, right? To wipe the raid and stuff like that.
People to use it.
Okay, and so presumably you chose Four Horsemen specifically because of the way that Petri Flask interacts with the stacking debuffs, right?
But you can resurrect in game. Yeah, that's where it gets a little bit weird, right? Because as I said, it's a community thing. It's a community run event, and it's a community run really game mode. That's up until very soon where we're gonna get official, right? That's why.
Yeah, exactly. The chain beam is GG's.
Okay.
It was all calculated.
Very calculated. Okay. And once again, so what are your personal plans for the upcoming hardcore servers?
Yeah, he wanted to
like
make
I said,
guild.
I'm going to lead the Horde. I'm going to bring my army over there, and
his army.
It's going to be it's going to be challenging, obviously, on Horde side, but we're gonna have fun, and we're gonna try to clear as much content as we can.
Quickly, considering you died during Judgment Day as well, have you deleted your hardcore character on Classic Era?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
It's over. Because I saw a screenshot where Calamity had invited you to actually continue on in Naxxramas with them.
Okay.
I think she was just memeing. But yeah, that character's deleted.
Okay.
To be honest, I might transfer the character to Whitemane.
But
it doesn't matter. It's that whole server to me is just a fake hardcore server at this point.
Okay.
Let me ask you this. considering that you have
so
sort of a known...
I mean, I guess you... Okay. Yeah. You can restore... You could restore your character. All right.
Well, let me ask you first another question. I'm seeing clips of you where you're purging world buffs, you're multi-box.
So like you can restore the character and transfer it, right?
Do you multi-box?
I had... I think I would stream about 16 accounts at the same time.
Oh my god, Jesus Christ.
They were, like, it wasn't using
the fact that some people would go to and do this, it's still crazy to me, man. I remember there was like people that had like characters on every single Songflower in Felwood ready to dispel people when they picked the Songflower just to make sure that they couldn't get their world buffs. It is like absolutely ridiculous.
Software, like it wasn't using like input software when I was multi-boxing it.
It was him? Yeah, not just him. There was plenty of people who did that. Other people than him as well. But yes, he did that. He did do that. Yes.
Okay, so would you consider that to be griefing?
No. It's literally an intended mechanic. Like it's world PvP. Like there's zero griefing with. It's an intended Blizzard mechanic, so absolutely not.
Okay.
Did they intend it to be like that though? I mean,
is there something that you would consider?
I don't know if they did intend it to be like that. To be fair, but yeah.
Griefing. What is an example of griefing?
It was an oversight. Yeah, I think a lot of things were oversights back in the day. Like there was a lot of things like that. Yeah, it goes to a point like when what is griefing really then, right? Because it seems to, from what I can understand, what he's saying is that everything that's like within the game is okay because it's in the game. You know, it's intended to be in the game, right? So nothing is really griefing in that matter then, right?
Just give me a second. I guess okay, I'll give you. I guess the example I can
EVE
think
Online,
of is like if you're
maybe at some point we could try to find some of those EVE Online videos and watch them. I played a little bit of EVE Online, not too much though. It could be kind of fun, but we'll see.
Stealing gold in a GDKP, like that's griefing. Like maybe you're like the master looter and you run away with like 200,000 gold. That's griefing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure. No, I think it's fair. I think it's also maybe you could just say like,
okay,
this is not your take, but it would have been fair.
So like scamming someone in the game is griefing, I guess, in his mind. Olegrino, thank you for the four thing. Yeah, I think that's more so scamming. That's not. Could you say scamming is the same as griefing? I wouldn't say so. I feel like it's two different types of like scumbag behavior, right? In a way, like griefing is, yeah, I guess it is griefing, but I don't know. I would categorize them a little bit differently, I think. Cloverful Kid, thank you for the 15 months. Scamming is a form of griefing. Yeah, I agree.
I think anything is griefing, right? That's a fair opinion. I know people that have that opinion also.
I feel like... Oh, sorry. Pausing, Andy. I feel like griefing is a lot more of like... what is the word for it? Like the like unethical behavior or like being an asshole or like, you know, trying to diminish other people's experience within the game, right? It's like malicious intent within the game. And scamming is more so like you're straight up scamming someone, right? Scumbaggery, yeah, it's like malicious intent, it's scumbaggery, it's trying to diminish other people's experience within the game. And yeah, scamming, you get something out of it yourself. Griefing is just about ruining someone else's experience. That's actually a very good point. Yeah, that's a very good way of putting it. Scamming is something you get out of because you're scamming someone and you're receiving something from the scam. Griefing is just about diminishing someone else's experience altogether, right?
Yeah.
Thank you for the subs boss battle, Jims. Thank you so much.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm being asked to quickly ask you, what is your affiliation with the guild Frontier? Which is, and for those in the chat that don't know, Frontier is a guild that is racing for hardcore world first, everything I think on the upcoming hardcore servers. I heard that.
Yeah, I think they're both EU and NA. I think that it's like they're trying to go really, really, really hard for hardcore fresh, basically.
You were in Frontier, but now you're not. So what is your relationship to them?
Like I'll be honest, they booted me, and I mean I don't blame them. Like my original plan for hardcore was to roll on Alliance and push for like world first clears, but yeah, like I said, I got booted, and I mean it is what it is. I mean I would never expect them to bring me to a raid after that.
Okay.
So you were kicked from Frontier as a result of the Four Horsemen Judgment Day situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, what the fuck was that?
But you said you've got a horde army.
Why does Stay Safe have those sounds?
And so those people on the Horde are presumably totally willing.
Oh my god, it's like a sound alert in his stream. You look right above my cam. It's like a redeem. Holy crap, man.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
The Horde sticks together.
Jesus.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I've been playing, you know, from private servers, classic WoW, SOM. So I mean, I've always had a pretty big following. I'm GM of a guild. I have a bunch of loyal soldiers that they want to play the next fresh with me. So.
Let me ask you this.
Sorry, it's really hard to pay attention.
Even though you might not consider the sort of account multi-boxing dispelling situation as technically griefing, I think a lot of people would.
Not yet.
What?
So, as an extension of that, people
I'm trying to be serious, but like, I can't, man.
Sort of asking this question, scratching their heads. Why would Hardcore Elite invite you to their guild
Loyal soldiers,
and have you tank bosses for them, given that sort of gameplay history? Do you think that's a fair question, or could you maybe shed insight on that?
Well, like I was a good tank. Like I was actively helping the guild. Like I do believe that we only got that far because I was helping them. Like
so
not
it
only
was like,
the actual raids, but like outside the raids as well. Like with the log reviews, teaching players how teaching them their rotation. How important raid debuffs are. So. I mean, I was an asset to the raid, inside the raids and outside.
Yeah, we have heard about this before. Like he was helping them with guild stuff, and he was like trying to like be helpful of the guild, and that's why they like kind of kept him inside of their raid. Like there was an interview with Calamity that we watched from Aspen's stream as well, where she basically said the same thing. Like he was helping them with stuff and such, right?
So one point you made initially is that you're saying this raid was sort of in shambles prior to you stepping in, that their debuffs were sloppy, their buffs were sloppy, everything.
Seems like a min-max that got triggered with how the guild was handling raiding. I think that's very much what the whole thing ties into. Yeah, he was not. Yeah, he pretty much.
Their spreadsheeting was terrible. Is that your take?
Well, yeah. So, for example, like when I first started playing with them, there was never fairy fire on the boss. Like the druids did not understand like how important that armor debuff is. Like that's one of like if you have 20 melee in the raid, like that's a very important debuff. The warlocks are like letting like curse of elements fall off.
It's like min-maxy stuff. Okay, so he's very not happy with the way that they're not min-maxing completely, right? To the crazy degree.
For like long periods of time, like they just no one was tracking that stuff. No one was tracking fairy fire. They refused to use improved exposed armor, and it just didn't make sense to me. Like I'm telling them, like guys, we need improved exposed armor. Like
we don't need
why are we
that,
not
right?
running
I mean,
this? Like
it's good.
We have 6 rogues in the raid, and it was just I had to fight with them. Is some cope excuse about threat? It's like you play alliance, you have salvation. Like we need these important raid debuffs. The faster the boss dies, the less risk there is for someone dying in the raid. You need to burn the bosses down ASAP.
So. Someone might even be able to make the argument, if they're to believe this story, that the only reason...
Why not min-max if it's a one-life tune? Do the fights as best as possible. I mean, yeah, obviously, but you don't need to... you don't need to kill, 36 people in the raid because you don't agree with the way they run the raid, right? But...
The Hardcore Elite made it to 4 horsemen at all.
Dude only sees the numbers, F the experience. Well, yeah, but I guess that he doesn't like that experience then if it's not, done like such, right?
Was because of your guidance and oversight.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I don't think they would have gone that far without me. Like, they wouldn't even have had fairy fire up on any of the bosses in Nax, and that's when stuff starts to get hard. That's when typically guilds are farming the older content for like months and months, and we didn't have the same gear levels. Like, yeah, without my help, like there's no way we would have made it that far.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess if that's the case, one might even say that Hardcore Elite is lucky to even have a Judgment Day because you're the one that brought them that far.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%. Like, who knows how far they would have made it without me? Like, I played a very key role as the third tank. Like, people ask like, why did they put me to start on Celiac? Well, I was their third tank. They trusted me. Like,
okay,
it's a no-brainer to put me on Celiac.
All right.
Okay.
I think I've asked you all the questions that I've wanted to ask. Are there any maybe final thoughts to the chat or the people tuning in that you would like to
almost done with the interview, boys?
Kind of part ways?
Yeah, like I just want everyone to know that I'm still playing Scriblio with Calamity.
Well, that's good to know.
Okay.
I actually thought of one final question. What would you say? I already asked you what you would say to the people in the chat, the billions of people around the world tuning in right now. What would you say to the 36 hardcore elite raiders that are presumably very upset at you? What would you say to those people?
Like, I understand they have, every right to be upset with me. Like, but, I don't think, like, they aren't all upset. Like, some are actually thanking me. But obviously some of them are upset with what happened, and that's their choice. Like I said, I can show you the screenshots after, and some of these players are, actually, they actually want to play with me in the next Fresh.
All right, so he's amassing an army, right?
This is something I haven't seen. Maybe you would know this. Have any of these 36 people come out and publicly defended you?
Okay. That's yep.
Fuck, I honestly, I don't know. I haven't really seen much besides the Calamity Asmongold interview.
Okay.
Besides that, I couldn't tell you.
No, that's fair. I mean, you could imagine if someone, on that raid team was happy with what you said, or sorry, with what you did, if they were to defend it, maybe they would be socially ostracized, so they might just keep that between the two of you and not publicly speak on it. You mentioned the Calamity Asmongold interview. I have not seen that yet. Is there anything that was brought up in that interview that you disagree with, or if you want to add any more notes or commentary to that while we're still here?
We watched this already, yeah.
No, I think, I mean, basically what Calamity said on the interview, I told you. She just kind of talked about how, I was a big part of the raid for a year, and how we played Scriblio together, but...
Dude, this goddamn Scriblio, man. Why does he keep bringing that up, man? Yeah, okay.
Besides that, I mean, I don't disagree with
he has to be trolling, I don't know.
Okay. One final question, because the chat is mad that I'm not going hard enough on you. Over the last 3 days, have you taken every mirror out of your house because you can't stand to look at yourself anymore?
No, not at all. I don't regret what happened. Like I said, it needed to be done.
Okay, needed to be done.
So you might have even put up even more mirrors.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Tiny Violin, I really appreciate you talking. I appreciate it. I think this is going to add some insight and maybe clarify some of the details with this event.
Yeah, definitely.
You understand? I don't know if you understand.
Definitely did.
This is my take at least. Over the course of Classic WoW, you have a very small set of sort of like epic gamer moments. You've got the Serenity Funeral raid. You've got Leroy Jenkins. You've got, I don't know. There's a couple situations like this.
I wants to be viewed as one of like the big boys who did like a massive thing, right?
You've got the corrupted Ashbringer being looted by a warlock. I think this one's up there. This is like a top 10 World of Warcraft moment. I think probably. This is one of those moments.
I wonder what he's gonna say.
Yeah, definitely. But the thing is it was never intended to be that. Like, at the end of the day, it was just Judgment Day for cheaters. I honestly didn't. I never expected all of this to happen.
Like
I never expected, Asmongold to be covering it, and everyone to be talking about it.
Dude, if it's streamed though, it's like they're trying to go for world first KT. People are gonna know about it. That's for sure.
Well, okay. So that being
to me, as sad as it sounds, I'm actually a little bit surprised that it is taking that long for something like this to happen. We haven't seen any major grief or anything like that. That was like my first thing that I thought, like hardcore rating. I'm like, okay, somebody's probably gonna just grief, or somebody's gonna like do something bad, and it's not gonna be a thing. But Road to Rag, there wasn't anything like that, and up until this point, there really hasn't been anything. It's been pretty clean, like just smooth rating and stuff like that, right?
The case.
Yeah.
If you could go back in time. If you could rewind 4 days ago, would you change anything or do anything differently?
Okay. No, I wouldn't.
Absolutely not. Okay. There it is. I think that's probably a very powerful final statement. Tiny Violin, I appreciate you talking to us today.
Yeah, I appreciate the interview.
Yeah, I got to say, I'm very thankful. I've never talked to you before. I'm always very scared talking to people that I haven't really interacted with much before. So I appreciate you're very respectful and civil in the call. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, hey, take care, brother.
Okay, you too. Bye.
All right, that is the interview. All right, I mean, that definitely cleared up a few things, for sure, with the whole incident and what happened with the Nax raid and stuff like that. Wanted to watch it. Obviously, we went through the whole stuff with it happening. We watched the whole Asmongold Calamity thing, and yeah, it happened. And that is why, and yeah. So hopefully we got all the drama out of the way there. I am sure the classic WoW drama is now going to be on a little bit of a lull, and there's not going to be that much, crazy things like that anymore. And it's going to be fantastic. But I'll link the video right here. This is the Stay Safe.